everyone, today's video is going to be all about concealers. I feel like this is something that gets touched on every year in my Emily Awards videos when I share a high-end and a drugstore favorite, and those concealers will be included in this video as well. But really, when it comes down to this kind of product, there are so many different reasons why someone might need a concealer and just so many options out there. So I wanted to do kind of an update talking about some of the ones that I really enjoy for various reasons. I don't want this to drag on forever. I've got so many products sitting in front of me, I think it might. But I also want to mention a few that have been kind of on the fence average for me and some that really totally did not work that I've tried recently. So first off, I want to talk creamy concealers. I think these work really well around the under eye area because that's a spot where I think many of us get dry. And sometimes right after you apply your makeup, you don't start out the day seeing that, but it's something that you notice as the day wears on. So these are a couple of concealers that I think are very under eye friendly. And if you've got dry skin, you might find that they're really nice elsewhere on your face as well. First one that I've got to mention that has been so good for a couple of reasons around the under eye, both this little cavern here, where you can really tend to get some blue tone discoloration, and also I've had melasma, you know, like right on top of my cheeks. I'll refer you to that video. I'll link to it below if you haven't seen that. That's something I was dealing with a lot during my pregnancy. Very dark discoloration on the tops of my cheeks, and it takes kind of a peachy salmony toned concealer to really cancel that out. So I'm talking about Benefit Erase Paste, and I wear this in the shade medium. That is a really nice, perfect peachy tone, and I have tried quite a few other products very similar to this in consistency. I'm thinking about the Bobbi Brown Corrector in Bisque. Eve Pearl's got a great salmon concealer, but I think this is really the best value. I mean, in terms of overall performance, they're very similar, but with this one, you're getting so much more product. And with this, I feel like it only takes a tiny amount. Just dab it wherever you need it. In some cases, I just blend it in with my finger, but it's really fantastic for the under eye circle or other like age spot, sunspot, melasma type discoloration on your face. Another concealer that's that very same texture, I mean, it's so similar to Erase Paste, but it's not in a salmony tone. It's more available in a regular skin tone range. This can still be nice on the under eye area. I think it's really good coverage. But just the tone of it, I think, lends itself to really like all-purpose, all over the face. And the moisture content in this could be really good for dry skin. So it's called All Covered Up Concealer. I have this in the shade Ivory. I've used so much of this product, but as you can see, let me hold up the Erase Paste next to it. You can see there's a lot more peachy tone in this. This has a little bit more of that classic yellowish beige type color. I also wanted to mention several that I think could work well just really all over the face. Maybe you want to use these over large portions of the skin and practically substitute for foundation. Maybe your problem is blemishes or uneven texture. Just a few just general concealers I wanted to mention. First off, the Maybelline Superstay Better Skin, which I have in the shade Light Medium. I'm surprised at how much I've enjoyed this because it really seems like such an average type of packaging. The consistency of this is probably very similar to a lot of the, you know, doe foot applicator style liquidy concealers that you've tried. But for whatever reason, I find that this seems to have really nice coverage and it stays looking pretty darn fresh on my skin. And maybe that's because I don't think this requires a lot of powder setting product on top of it. So you're just not layering as much on your skin and it just continues to look a little bit fresher. I know with blemishes, that's a lot of the concern. It's like, which is worse, just showing the blemish or covering it up and it still looks very obvious because of the way something's caking up on it. And this is an oil-free concealer, so I think that would be very blemish friendly. But it's been nice on the under eyes too, or really anywhere I wanted to use it. Another nice one in stick form that has kind of been a substitute to another stick concealer that I have loved over the years. I'm talking about the CoverGirl plus Olay Concealer Balm. I thought that was such a nice, smooth, really fabulous texture stick concealer, and then it's discontinued, of course. But this one from Rimmel is called Hide the Blemish. I've got it in light beige. This particular shade is actually just such a perfect tone if I want to use this on the under eye, just anywhere around the face. It's a little bit brightening, but it's very smooth and creamy. And they actually say, you know, it's called Hide the Blemish, but this can be used really anywhere on the face. I've tried so many drying concealer sticks, and this one is not not like that at all. And you can see it's got kind of a nice light peachy tone to it. It works really well. And finally, one more concealer suggestion for the person who really likes the liquidy texture, and it's the MAC Pro Longwear. Rediscovered product for me. I recently repurchased this. I'm in the shade NC25. I think this is a nice kind of foundation substitute type product. If you're using a really lightweight tinted moisturizer or maybe just a regular moisturizer all over your skin and you want a concealer that, you know, with just a tiny amount really spreads across the skin and still maintains great coverage, this might be something you want to use. I have heard people complain a little bit that it can be a little drying there. So again, really my favorite under eye concealers are the ones I mentioned earlier. But I did want to throw a mention out there for this because I think it's just such a fantastic coverage product, and it's amazing, always amazing to me how a little bit goes a long way. Half a pump of this, really, if you want to use this as your sole concealer, that half a pump can go under the eyes, down the nose, you know, anywhere you want to brighten on your face. There are so many liquid brightening products on the market, and I have been let down by the vast majority of them. The two that I want to mention are actually super low cost, and it just amazes me how I keep comparing to these, you know, when I try something more expensive and I keep thinking, gosh, those other two, those are really the best. First off, the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind Brightener. This has kind of a pinky tone, and it always amazes me how this is thin, but it has a little coverage to it. There are some people out there who are maybe barely dealing with under eye discoloration or darkness, and this might be absolutely all you need. And it's got that interesting little, you know, puff type thing up here that the product clicks up through. Some people actually like to remove that. I haven't had an issue with it. I just leave it there, but you can just dab it, you know, maybe on the high points of your face. Maybe you've used a corrective type concealer. A lot of times I'll use like erase paste to really tackle the under eye circle and then go on top with something like this to brighten it up further. The other brightening concealer that I've more recently come across and been so impressed by, it's the e.l.f. HD Lifting Concealer, and the shade is called Brightening. And this, whereas this one is more pinky, this has a definite yellow type tone to it. I mean, it really packs a punch. I'm picturing people putting this like in that triangle shape on the under eye, you know, really lifting that area up. I've used it that way. It's really a great product. And I know for some people it's not so much about using concealer to conceal, but rather to brighten. So those are a couple of brighteners that I think work very, very well. Some concealers, mainly like those first few I mentioned, the cream texture like this, having a little powder on top really helps enhance the staying power throughout the day. It's not that you have to use a lot of powder, but it's just enough to take the texture from being kind of dewy and tacky to being really smooth. I feel like this has got to be one of the lightest weight powders known to man. I love it so much. It's the Ben Nye Luxury Powder in Cameo. There are several different shades that this comes in. There's Buff, there's the Banana Powder, but the Cameo works really well for me. That's actually what I use to set my look today, and it can be a little bit brightening. It's matte, but it's so lightweight. And there is that technique floating around called like baking your concealer, where essentially you put on your creamy concealer, you load on a lot of powder and kind of let it set on your concealer for a bit, and then you kind of dust off the excess. And this would be the kind of powder that you could use for that technique if you want to. That's a technique that I personally don't feel the need to do that often. It feels like an awful lot of product, but if you like to experiment with that, this is a nice way to do it. Also, a quick mention to my Bare Minerals Bisque or Summer Bisque. The one I'm holding up here happens to be the Summer Bisque, but it's basically the Bare Minerals Powder Concealer. And this is a heavy duty, full coverage type powder. And I don't use this as much anymore. Whenever I do use this, just use the tiniest amount. Like seriously, pace yourself, limit yourself. But this can be kind of a problem-solving product, because if you find you've got a lot of liquid or creamy concealers that aren't getting the job done coverage-wise, oftentimes a little bit of this, and I have it in Bisque. Summer Bisque is a little warmer, a little deeper. It adds to the coverage tremendously. If you're dealing with heavy duty under eye wrinkles, this product, even in light amounts, I don't know, it might be a little questionable, but it's kind of a nice little product transformer. just want to mention a few great brushes. This little IT Cosmetics double-ended brush has been my current favorite thing. I'll use this side for foundation, also concealer. It's very full. It doesn't overblend. It doesn't remove the coverage, although this smaller side is great for getting on the inner corners of the eye and around the nose. So I think that's called the Heavenly Luxe dual-ended foundation concealer brush. It's really nice. From Up & Up from Target, right now the packaging of them is actually like this. This is an older one, but they still sell the same style. It's the round foundation brush. Another great, rather large brush that works very well for patting in your under eye concealer. Works well on those brighteners. And then Up & Up also sells this cool little duo. One is more domed, one is cut at a very soft, angle up like that, but here's about the amount of space that those cover on the under eye area. They're nice little buffing concealer brushes, great for dabbing around, maybe on top of a blemish or anywhere all over your face. Very all-purpose. I think you'd find a lot of uses for those. And when I was talking about the powders, I love using the Smashbox number 10, and not that you have to use this specific brush. Maybe you've just got an oversized eye crease or blending brush. This works great with the Bare Minerals Bisque or the Ben Nye powder because it's just so wispy. Another brush, the Sigma F35. e.l.f. has the tapered studio brush, and those work really nicely too to cover a little bit larger surface area. To shout out to a few concealers that did not work for me at all. This Becca Under Eye Brightening Corrector. I have the full express review on this product, but this has so much shimmer to it. You may not be able to tell when I'm holding it up here, but it's like a pearly pink concealer. Basically, I would put this on the under eye area. They gave this thing huge claims that it was supposed to eradicate under eye circles, but it actually was just way too reflective, and it made them show up a lot more, so I didn't go for that at all. A couple of brightening concealers that did next to nothing for me. The Bare Minerals Well Rested Face and Eye Brightener. So they put their Well Rested in a click pin, and this was just so sheer. Literally I felt like it was no coverage, and when I put it on, I thought it just watered down everything else that I was wearing. And kind of a similar effect for me with the Hard Candy Sheer Envy Eye Brightening Concealer. Just so thin. I found when I was blending it in, it just blended away to nothingness. Oh, speaking of Hard Candy, I don't know where it is, but their little palette that has some different corrective concealers and also several skin tone concealers, that stuff, so greasy, so low coverage. They put that product out years back when Hard Candy first came to Walmart, and they just repackaged it and did not improve a thing. I swear this is the most product-heavy video known to man, but I just wanted to mention a couple of concealers that you may have seen me use recently that I'm just kind of on the fence about. One is the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer. I have it in the shade Custard. This is one of those products that I think is good. I do think it's really good coverage, but I don't know that it's worth the high price. Just compared to some of the other drugstore things I've mentioned, even that Maybelline Super Stay Better Skin, I didn't think this was head and shoulders above that. And when I really need to correct, on the under eye area, really take away the discoloration, I'm wanting something like Benefit Erase Paste. It really tackles it better than this. So again, it's okay, but I don't think I'd repurchase it. And also the IT Cosmetics Bye Bye Under Eye. This is an example of a really emollient full coverage concealer that requires a lot of setting powder for me to enjoy wearing it. Some people might put this on and maybe you don't mind the dewy tackiness under the eyes, but when eyeliner and eyeshadow and mascara are kind of touching that area, you're gonna run into a staying power issue sooner or later. It's actually one that works decently well under that baking concept that I mentioned. If you put a fair amount of Cameo powder on top of this, you won't feel that texture at all. But I just think this concealer is so contingent on needing that extra step. You really can't get by without it in my book. So that's my epic huge concealer video, everyone. I really hope this answered some questions for you. I'd love to hear about your concealer recommendations as well, but these are just some of the best for me when it comes to different needs. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.